earlier press conference that this volatility is not something that we would like to bring in even in our policy repo rate. So it's in the medium term that we target our uh, uh, policy medium term target our headline inflation, and accordingly, we will take action as may be required, given the uh, given the outlook and how the growth inflation dynamics play out.
Thank you, sir. We'll take some more questions from our left side before we come to this side. I'll now request Manojit Saha from Business Standard to ask his question. Manojit, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. My question is on FCNRB scheme. Is there an option for you to close the scheme prematurely before the deadline in case a certain amount of inflows coming? You may have a target in your mind. So, because I'm asking this because there is a cost to this scheme because RBI is subsidizing it, and there is a view that the situation is now not as bad as 2013, where India was considered a fragile five. Forex reserves were only 275 billion as compared to 700 billion around. So that concern is there. So is there an option to close it prematurely once you get the amount of deposits which you may have in your mind?
We have got robust flows, as you have mentioned, and we do hope to get healthy.
And there is a view that
going forward, as of now,
the situation
there
is
no proposal
not as bad as 2013, where India was considered a fragile five. Forex reserves were only 275 billion as compared to 700 billion.
Thank you, sir. I'll now Bloomberg to ask his question. Anup, please.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have seen $40 billion being mobilized by the FCNRB scheme, and yet the rupee has not appreciated much. I'm just trying to understand what is happening there. Is it because you are squaring off your forward position and the dollar is not coming into the market? Can you please let us know what is happening there?
I think the underlying fundamentals of our Indian economy are very strong, as I have earlier mentioned. There can be an argument, as some people have made, that it is perhaps, on nominal or real effective exchange rate terms, it may be undervalued. There is a lot of uncertainty. It is quite possible going forward as the tensions and the conflict de-escalates. It is quite possible that the rupee may further strengthen. It has strengthened over the last 1 month or so. It has strengthened from 97 levels now to about 95 levels. So it has strengthened. And our policy has always been that the markets determine the prices level and the band. We don't pursue. We only target. We only intervene in case there is an excessive volatility. There are speculative pressures that are getting built in, and it will be our endeavor that the trajectory for rupee remains orderly, and there is no disruptive movement, or there is no expectation, self-fulfilling expectations getting built into the exchange rate.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Hamsini Karthik from Money Control to ask her question. Hamsini, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. My question is also pertaining to FCNRB. I would like to understand if you could please help us with a geographical split of where this deposit flow has really come from, and whether the deposit flow has ticked all the boxes in terms of BOP management, liquidity, and forex from an RBI standpoint.
Yes, as of now, it has ticked all the boxes. You asked two questions, but they are related, so it's okay.
Thank you.
And your second question is geographies we don't have. We don't collect geographies. but the flows, as I said, have been robust. We had even before these measures a very strong and a comfortable external position. This further fortifies our external position, including the BOP.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Ekta Suri from Z Business to ask her question. Ekta, please.
आज आपने अपनी पॉलिसी में एक स्टेटमेंट से बताया कि मार्जिन्स जो हैं बैंक्स के अब उतने शायद ल्यूक्रेटिव या उतने अच्छे नहीं हैं। आपने ऑफ कोर्स इंग्लिश में बोला था, लेकिन उतने बेटर नहीं है जितने पहले होते थे। तो सर, क्या सर आरबीआई ने इसे अकाउंट में लिया और इसी वजह से जो आपने बल्क डिपॉजिट्स पर डिफरेंशियल रेट्स का पेपर निकाला, क्या उसकी एक वजह ये भी है? और क्या अब आरबीआई इसको ट्रैक करेगा कि बल्क डिपॉजिट्स पे बैंक्स जो हैं जो किसी और तरीके से मार्केटिंग एक्सपेंस या किसी और तरीके से ज्यादा पार्टीज को फेवर कर रहे थे या उनको एक्स्ट्रा पैसे दे रहे थे डिपॉजिट्स के नाम पर, सर उसको क्या आरबीआई ट्रैक करेगा? और ऐसे ही बैंक्स जो हैं अपनी जब रिजल्ट्स आते हैं तो सर उसमें टेम्पररी फिक्स डिपॉजिट्स लेकर अपने कासा को इन्फ्लेटेड तरीके से दिखाते हैं, तो इसको आरबीआई किस तरह से लेगा सर? सर सब कुछ डिपॉजिट से ही रिलेटेड है।
3 क्वेश्चन आपने पूछ लिए एक में।
सर अंडर वन अम्ब्रेला ऑफ डिपॉजिट्स।
वो एफसीएनआरबी में भी उन्होंने 2 पूछ लिए। बल्क जो हमने इंटरेस्ट रेट के गाइडलाइंस जो आज निकाले हैं या पहले जो निकाले थे, आपने पहले वाले के लिए जिक्र किया, वो निम की वजह से, निम में जो कमी हुई उसकी वजह से नहीं थे। वो जो अंडरलाइंग कॉस्ट है डिपॉजिट की, जो जो डिपॉजिट जमा करता है उनके लिए भिन्न हो सकती है, क्योंकि हमारे जो दिशा निर्देश हैं विशेष करके एलसीआर के लिए वो अलग हैं। तो उस चीज़ को ध्यान में रखते हुए हमने वो गाइडलाइंस निकाले थे।
So the other two parts
अगर नहीं आएगा वो क्वेश्चन, अगर कोई नहीं पूछ लेगा तो ठीक है, नहीं पूछेगा तो आई विल कम बैक, तो वापस आपके पास आएंगे।
थैंक यू।
अगर कोई पूछ लेगा तो ठीक है, नहीं पूछेगा तो फिर वापस आपके पास आएंगे।
थैंक यू
सर। सभी प्रश्नों का जवाब जरूर दिया जाएगा, बशर्ते समय की सीमा में रहे।
धन्यवाद सर।
Yes, Suraj.
I'll now request Anurag Shah from ET Now Swadesh to ask his question. Anurag, please.
नमस्ते सर। सर, जिस तरह से आज एक बड़ा ऐलान किया गया है आपके द्वारा लोन इंटरेस्ट रेट कैलकुलेशन का, तो सर ये क्या उसी तरह का बड़ा ऐलान है जिस तरह आपने अभी मिस सेलिंग से जुड़ा हुआ एक ऐलान किया था, जो 1 जनवरी से नियम लागू हो रहे हैं, जिसकी काफ़ी सराहना भी हुई, बाकी रेगुलेटर के द्वारा भी सराहना की गई। तो लोन इंटरेस्ट रेट कैलकुलेशन के नियमों से सर आम जो करोड़ों लोन लेने वाले लोग हैं उनको क्या राहत मिलेगी, कब तक इसके नियम लागू होंगे और किस तरह से आरबीआई एक दिशा निर्देश देगा जिससे लोगों को राहत मिलेगी?
ये जो इंटरेस्ट रेट के नियम हैं, इसका प्रमुख जो कारण है वो ये है कि विभिन्न जो हमारे रेगुलेटेड एंटिटीज़ हैं उनके लिए भिन्न भिन्न निर्देश दिए हुए थे। तो उसको युक्ति युक्त करने के लिए और स्टैंडर्डाइज करने के लिए हमने ये नियम निकाले हैं। और इससे ट्रांसपेरेंसी, पारदर्शिता वो भी बढ़ेगी, क्योंकि लोगों को सबको मालूम रहेगा कि जो ब्याज दरें हैं वो क्या हैं, किस प्रकार से सेट की जाती हैं। तो मुख्यतः ये एक रैशनलाइजेशन एक्सरसाइज है जो कि कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन को और अधिक बढ़ाएगी।
तो लोगों को ये नहीं समझना चाहिए कि ईएमआई बदल जाएगी, ईएमआई तो उतनी रहेगी, लेकिन आपको
जी हाँ बिल्कुल
सही पारदर्शिता तरीके से अपना ब्याज और प्रिंसिपल समझ में आएगा।
Sir, can you please repeat in English, because that was to be my second question also. The market is very confused. What do you mean by all regulated entities? Will NBFCs have to declare EBLR? All those confusions
Will
are there.
NBFCs have to have external benchmark?
देखिए, वो all those details will be there in in the draft guidelines that we are coming out with. So please wait for those guidelines. All the details are over there. It is not a major change, as I have mentioned to you. The same, there is no requirement. There is no major change in requirement as you are referring to with regard to NBFCs and bringing them on to EBLR, etc. There is no major change. There is only a rationalization. Perhaps DG Shirish can further clarify.
No, you are right, sir. You have to wait for the circular to come out. Only thing I can tell is no major change, and emphasis is on transparency and basically conduct related. So don't look at the substantive part, but nevertheless, you wait for the circular. It will come out soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sirs. Sir, we'll now take a few questions from the right side. I'll request Sangeeta Mehta from Economic Times to ask her question. Sangeeta, please.
Thank you. Thank you. So this, your policy statement, you have said that transmission of policy rates have moderated. And now with the swap window being opened, we expect liquidity to surge, and it has surged and it might surge further. But do you expect banks to pass on the benefits of liquidity to the customers? Because banks are already talking about improving NIMs and things like that. So it's kind of wanted to understand that.
Liquidity will obviously help everyone. It was required, but let me mention that the liquidity may be in surplus only, for the very short term. It may peak, around in Q2, around September or so. And going forward, it should get absorbed because of our normal needs of the economy through increase in currency in circulation, higher requirement for reserves because of deposit growth. We also have some forwards which are getting matured. So overall, of course, it will help, but it is not something that is extraordinarily high liquidity.
Doesn't answer that. Would you expect banks to still have some?
As I mentioned, it is not substantial. So it will only help, at the very margins. It's not extraordinary or substantial over a very short period of time. I mean, this is the kind of liquidity that we even otherwise every year, through OMOs and other means, through swaps, we provide this kind of a liquidity. Now, a lot of it, of course, will depend on the amount of FCNRB deposits that we will get, but it should more or less it should get absorbed in the medium term.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Jasprit Kalra from Thomson Reuters to ask his question. Jasprit, please.
Thank you, sir. Governor, my question relates to succession planning at banks. There have been instances where banks have taken longer than a 6-month renewal cycle for the top leadership. Some other places, CEOs have left within one term. Given the ambition for India to have larger banks that can have a global reach, analysts have also pointed out that the tight grip on compensation, etc., for top talent at banks can have a limiting impact on the sort of talent banks themselves can draw. Do you see room to sort of review some of these rules that are in place and maybe relax some of them going forward?
There is no proposal as of now.
Do you not see a need as well, given the ambition to have larger banks?
We obviously have a need. I mean, we all obviously, would like and aspire to have more and more banks. But whether it is coming in the way or not, as I mentioned, has not been examined by us, and there is no proposal in this regard, which is pending.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'll request Piyush Shukla from NDTV Profit to ask his question. Piyush, please.
Good afternoon, Governor, DGs. Thank you, Brit sir. Sir, yesterday the government has made some amendments to the Payments Act. Now there is chatter that there could be, government may levy MDR on certain transaction, whether above 2,000 rupees, or it could use that on large retailers. With you have earlier mentioned how there somebody has to bear a cost for this public infrastructure utility. I want to understand from RBI, will we look at transaction size? Will we target certain retailers? What is the strategy going ahead? If you can share some views on this front, sir. And last time, sir, you had said that the upper layer list of NBFCs will come out very soon. So how soon will it come, sir?
So, your first question I will answer is that it is very premature right now. The government is still carrying out the amendment. The costs have to be paid by someone. I mean, it's a public. We all want, that this public infrastructure should continue to strengthen, maybe become more efficient, etc. We continue to do that. That's our primary focus as of now. Let's wait and watch for further developments on this. I don't have anything more to add.
Will the user get charged, sir? Because if you're leaving a fee on a merchant, eventually it passes on to customer. So the goal is to have 800 million transactions a day or so. So imposing a fee.
Let's wait and let's wait. It's premature right now. But please keep in mind also that ultimately it is the consumer in some way or the other who's paying it already. So it may not be the same consumer. It may be, the general economy, and you don't get to see it directly. But already it's, to answer partly, your question, whether it gets passed on, somehow, it's already getting passed on. It may not be directly on to the user pays principle, but someone is paying the cost. This is what I meant. Someone will have to pay the cost. I said this earlier, and even now I'm saying. So what is important is that we continue to invest and we continue to find the means, whether it is through MDR or other things. I think those are matters of detail. Let's wait and see how the situation evolves going forward.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I'll request Ankur Mishra from ET Now to ask his question. Ankur, please.
Thank you, Brice sir, and good afternoon, Governor. First of all, I just wanted to get what is the assumption on crude and rupee? Please don't consider it as question. To ask on, I want to understand your sense more on GDP front. In last to last policy, of course, the FY27 forecast was 6.9%, then it came to 6.6, and now we are at 6.7%. Given in the first quarter itself, you're saying 7% growth is possible. Is there a scope of overall 7% growth for FY27, which is possible, considering the fact that the data which has come in the past also has been better than what was forecasted?
The 6.7% growth that we have estimate, the outlook that we have given is an estimate. And we have also mentioned that the risks are evenly balanced on both sides. We also give a fan chart to give, the relative probability distribution. So if you look at the fan chart, it will suggest that there is a possibility that the growth, to answer your question, there is a possibility that the growth may be 7 or more.
Thank you, sir. I'll request.
Assumption, if you can.
Answer only one question. And this is not something, that I think we answer. This is internal to us. And these are market sensitive information, which we would not like to give.
I'll request Shayan Ghosh from Mint to ask his question. Shayan, please.
Governor, I wanted to understand. So in April, RBI had asked banks to submit a board-approved policy on AI-related cyber security resilience to RBI. And within a couple of months, we have seen a large bank facing a cyber incident where a lot of customer data was put on the public domain. Will there be a cost to such incidents in the banking sector when when banks fail to adhere to these guidelines, or they are not prepared enough to counter these attacks?
The IT systems of our major banks and big regulated entities are quite strong, robust. They have put in place checks and balances to ensure that they are secure. We have not only guidelines and regulations, we also have a supervision which is done very regularly. Any shortfalls or vulnerabilities are pointed out, measures to be taken to further strengthen the systems are suggested. Uh, they are followed up, or they are monitored, they are followed up to ensure that the systems continuously, while new threats and vulnerabilities keep coming up with new developments in the IT sector, at the same time, our banks and regulated entities also keep preparing and making themselves more secure and more resilient.
Thank you, sir. I'll request media persons to please ask only one question, as was informed earlier. I'll request K. Ramkumar from Hindu Business Line to ask his question. Ramkumar, please.
So there has been a divergence in the credit and deposit growth. Divergence between the credit and deposit growth, with credit growth outpacing the deposit growth actually by a huge number. So just wanted to understand, will this not create a situation where lending rates will go up, deposit rates will go up? And my second question is about whether the transmission is complete, monetary policy transmission.
So I answer your second question. Monetary policy transmission is about 80 basis points. It has moderated. It was about 90 basis points on the lending side. And uh, so I would say, that it is more or less complete.
Thank you, sir. We'll now take the remaining questions from the left side. I'll request Madam Falakna Sayed from Deccan Chronicle to ask her question. Falaknas, please.
Sir, according to reports, Paytm Payments Bank had around 800 crore of funds that are locked. Of that, half of them are frozen.
Specific entities, we don't answer the question. So if you want to ask another question, you can do so. We don't get into spaces related to the specific entity, or you have a generic question
No, I
related
just
to it.
generic, like how much of the deposits have been claimed, how
No,
much.
so we don't get into specifics
Okay.
of any particular regulated entity.
Okay. And there was the final guidelines are likely to come out for this mobile in case of a default. The mobile phones can be locked by lenders. So the draft guidelines were there. Now, what are the changes that are going to be made in the final guidelines? And when will those final guidelines be out? Will it be status quo, wherein lenders will have the permission to lock phones remotely?
We are still analyzing the guidelines, and quickly we should be in a position to finalize them. And I have not yet seen, what are the comments that have come in. We had proposed, as you recall, allowing regulated entities to restrict in a phased manner with sufficient safeguards, advance notice being one of them, not keeping their data secure, private data secure, not using it for any other purposes, etc. We will examine all the comments and quickly we will issue the revised guidelines.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Krishna Kaushik from Financial Times to ask his question. Krishna, please.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. So back on FCNRB, I just want to ask the robust mobilization. In the past, these tend to be back-ended, and this time it's been pretty good, $36 billion already. So was it higher than what was expected when the policy was announced? And how much do you expect it to reach by the end of September?
See, we do not have any target in mind. The flows, as I already mentioned, have been robust. and we continue to expect going forward further healthy inflows. We don't have a number in mind.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Lalatendu Mishra from the Hindu to ask his question. Lalatendu, please.
Good afternoon, sir. The global shocks have become very frequent since the onset of COVID, and the West Asia conflict is not showing any signs of ending. Under the circumstances, what confidence you give to the people of the country, and what we should be all worried about? Thank you, sir.
I think I think the confidence comes from the way Indian economy, all of us together, including the institutions, have met these challenges. Whether it was COVID, whether it was the Ukraine war, or whether this present shock that we witnessed, we have come out. We have not only faced these challenges, but we have come out stronger. And even this particular episode or shock is being treated as an opportunity for us to further enhance our resilience. Our macroeconomic fundamentals is the other thing. They are very strong. Growth is resilient. Inflation is, although headline is going up, but underlying inflation pressures are muted. While we do see it kind of aligning with the core inflation, your banks, your corporates, your households, they have good, healthy balance sheets. Government continues to focus on reforms, continues on a path of fiscal consolidation. Our policy frameworks are robust, institutions are strong. So I think this is what gives us the confidence that come what may, we will emerge stronger from each episode. There is nothing to worry.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Nachiket Kelkar from Business Today to ask his question. Nachiket, please.
Good afternoon, Governor. Just one question back to the circular that came on the fixed deposits and the uniformity of rates. What prompted that circular? Did you find instances where there was differential pricing that was being offered? Also, does that impact deposit mobilization? Because banks anyways have been struggling in terms of deposits, especially small finance banks. Will that not be a speed bump?
On the deposits?
Yes.
See, there was lack of clarity in certain aspects. And so primarily, we have standardized and clarified as to how the deposit rates should be offered in a transparent manner. There is no major change to the best of my knowledge, unless you would like to highlight a few points where we have clarified. I mean, it's all about transparency. We have asked them that they should, in advance, which was already there for some, and the banks were already doing it. But how to inform them in advance? So we have said, you inform them through the website in advance about your deposit. Similarly, for bulk deposits, there was a non-standardization of the timing. So we have said, we have given them a leeway of till 10 a.m. For them for the bulk deposits. So it's things like this. You want to add, Shirish?
No, just I would like to add the intention only, because details are there in the circular. Basically, transparency and the level playing field. These are our main lookout, and we try to achieve through this circular. That's why we standardize the timing also.
Thank you, sirs. I'll request Manish Suvarna from Press Trust of India to ask his question. Manish, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Governor. So, just need to understand, do you expect the government measures will be sufficient to protect the rural demand from the impact of the El Nino? And secondly, sir, is the current growth story becoming increasingly dependent on the urban consumption? As you mentioned that the private consumption has remained robust and there is a weakness in the rural demand.
I think Indian economy, especially the agriculture sector, has demonstrated great resilience. The monsoon is still evolving. El Nino conditions have developed, but then there is the other opposite dipole that you have, that is also, that could perhaps counter some of the El Nino. It's still evolving, but it has been very resilient because of various measures, as you mentioned, that the government has taken. Allied activities, we have seen if the agriculture is not doing well, then the allied activities, they do better. The households are able to themselves, adjust their own activities to generate income and to offset some of the loss in incomes that we have seen. Irrigation has improved. Government has taken a number of measures. Madam, you want to add something over here? Over here, why don't you
So
take this
I
question?
can add, and I would more or less reiterate what just sir said. Now, we have seen that the overall economy has become very resilient, and that resilience extends to different sectors, particularly the agriculture sector and the rural economy. And if you look at the data of the last, let's say, 15 years, you see that resilience play out in multiple ways. I'll just point out to a few. One is, as Sir said, there is an agriculture sector and there is an allied sector. Both the sectors have become very good and they complement each other, particularly if we see agriculture not doing well in a year, then allied sector is doing very well. The other is, if you look at some of the measures by the government, the share of area that is irrigated now is much larger and it's a secular increase, which means though the rainfall deficiency and vagaries matter, they matter less than they used to in the past. If you look at the inputs that agriculture sector is using, whether through credit to the sector or farm mechanization, that has improved a great deal. The crop variety and seed variety has improved. So all in all of these measures indicate towards a well-doing rural economy and a very resilient agriculture sector.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, madam. I'll request Saurabh Pandey from IANS to ask his question. Saurabh, please.
Good afternoon, Governor, sir. As we have seen, you have got recent approval for polymer nodes. So what is the status on it and by when we can see to come into existence, sir? And sir, my very second question is...
One question. Unless you want me to answer the second question.
Oh.
So see, this polymer thing, basically two purposes. One is that it enhances the durability in the life, especially this is relevant especially for your lower denomination notes where the velocity and therefore velocity is higher and so therefore the lifespan is lower. These notes have been in circulation for more than 30 years in various countries. And one finds that the life is much more 3 to 4 times the life of the paper substrate. And then it also expands our capacity as our needs grow. That is the second purpose, that it expands our capacity as the needs of the economy increase. So it's with these purposes that we have brought in. This is still a pilot. We will test, check as to how they perform in the Indian conditions, climate, and other infrastructure that we have put in place. And it's only thereafter that we will see if we need to further scale it up as it is or with changes. We are targeting that they are in circulation if everything goes as per plan in the beginning of the next financial year.
Thank you, sir. I'll request media person again to please ask only one question. Moving on, I'll request Akash Mandal from Indian Express to ask his question. Akash, please.
Good afternoon, Governor, DGs. I have a question related to the core inflation bit. You had said in your policy statement that core inflation excluding precious metals will align with core inflation by the end of the financial year. But you also mentioned that there are currently little signs of the generalization of price pressure so far. So going ahead, what factors do you see potentially driving up the core inflation excluding precious metals in the coming few months from 2.5% currently to 4.3%?
Yeah, so it's because of a variety of reasons that core is going up. I mean, it is 2.1 to 2.5 kind of levels is the core underlying inflation, core excluding pressure, and it's going up, right? So not only core, but even the underlying pressure. So whatever, benign inflation that we were in is obviously going forward, is not there. And so we are watching out for that. And if there is a need to recalibrate policy rates because of that, uh, then then appropriate action will be taken.
Thank you, sir. So we'll now take the remaining questions from this side. I'll request Mayur Shetty from the Times of India to ask his question. Mayur, please.
Thank you, sir. Governor, my question was on the impact of the CNRB collections on RBI's balance sheet. How do you plan to deal with the swap positions and whether
Sorry, how do you plan to
deal with the swap positions that RBI will be getting? And
so see, it's like a normal. I mean, it's we keep doing swaps, right? We do swaps. We do buy and sell foreign currency, and whatever are our reserves as a result of that, there is a committee. There is a high-level committee. There are members from the government also, which participate regularly in those meetings, and we take a call as to how we are going to manage the reserves. Basis three principles I mentioned in one of the interviews. The first one is security. The other one is liquidity, and the third one is returns. So security, liquidity, and returns. So basis that, but as I mentioned to you, there's not the liquidity that it will inject is there for a short while. The balance sheet is growing, at a more or less, at a normal pace, unless you have a flood of unexpected deposits, which we don't. It is manageable.
Thank you, sir. I'll now request Aryan Khanna from Informist Media to ask his question. Aryan, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Governor, just following on the same train of thought in terms of liquidity. Now, you said that you don't expect liquidity to stay in the system for too long, and that it will be used up by the economy.
Yeah.
Now, credit growth is already at 18%. It has risen from the last time that the MPC met. Is the RBI's intention now to increase demand or demand pull inflation? Is that because core inflation is lower than perhaps 4%? So is it now the RBI stance that you want to increase demand going into the festival months because liquidity will be used up by the economy?
So it is the intent to increase the credit or the demand?
Yes, I'm asking that. Is there a push for increased demand?
The present policy rate that we have. So two things, let me say. One, the liquidity we try to manage in a way that our operating target, which is the Walker, that aligns with the policy repo rate. So the kind of liquidity that we will give out will depend on what is the policy repo rate. And what the policy repo rate will be determined by the growth and the inflation dynamics where, your demand also comes in. So if there is a slag, which there is, which we find with the growth, being below potential, then obviously, to that extent, it will help our demand.
Thank you, sir. I'll now request Shama Mishra from Doordarshan to ask a question. Shama, please.
Hello, sir. Sir, despite this elevated headline inflation, the stance has remained unchanged. What specific indicators or developments would prompt RBI to change or reconsider this stance?
Obviously, it is the change, it's the change in the growth inflation dynamics. If there is a very high inflation, which requires us to raise rates, Uh, or the other way around, if the growth is very less, inflation is primary mandate is, of course, inflation. Why I say this? While I say this, keep in mind that the primary mandate is price stability. And so if inflation is going up beyond the target, not aligning with the target persistently over a long period of time, which requires, I would say, large rate cuts, then it will meet. And when you are sure that you are going to raise rates in such a situation, is when you go and change your policy if you are uncertain, or if you expect that the policy rates are not to be changed too much, then you may not change stance, as I've mentioned earlier, and you can still be data dependent, and you can take a call to change rates.
But so it's already elevated, and we are seeing the projections also is going forward. It's up. So do we see a change in coming months?
Let's see what is the change in the coming months. We will be data dependent. We will remain focused on our primary mandate, primary objective of maintaining price stability and meeting our target of 4% headline inflation over the medium term.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Shipra Petkar from
And so it will depend on the inflation path. As we have said, we see that it is coming down. Where it comes down to, how fast it comes down to, is what is important. And that is what, we said it very clearly, that we are looking especially at how inflation path, its composition, where it ends, is what, we are looking out in our resolution. And there's a lot of uncertainties, what we have said. And so we will take a call policy by policy and not give a guidance that we need to change stance, because we are ourselves not sure as to what policy action this will entail.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Shipra Petkar from Financial Express to ask a question. Shipra, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Governor. There were reports that PSUs have sought for an extension on the swap window for ECBs. How is RBI viewing these requests? I mean, do you think there's a need to extend the window? Thank you.
There is neither a proposal to my mind, which is under examination, and neither is there a need, given the robust flows, to extend the timeline as of now.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Saurav Mukherjee from ANI to ask his question. Saurav, please.
Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. Sir, my question to you is, with the CAD projected at a manageable level alongside external risks like West Asia tensions and crude volatility, how confident is the RBI that capital inflows, specifically FDI and FPI, will provide sufficient structural support to offset these shocks? Thank you, sir.
As I said, macroeconomic fundamentals are very strong. And so therefore we should continue to get good capital flows. FDI is certainly, more durable, more sticky and preferable. We got good, robust gross FDI numbers. Even FDI, net FDI is positive. Number of things, that government is doing. One is the number of agreements that have been signed on the trade agreement part, but even that helps, indirectly that helps investment, that will help. Going forward, government is focused on ease of doing business, that will help. It has opened up or expanded the scope of various sectors for FDI, for example, insurance. So that should help. We have also taken a number of measures. We are now trying to simplify the rules, regulations governing FDI. A draft is, you are aware, is under public consultation. We will streamline those. I think the fundamentals of our economy are very strong. Even if you look at not only the capital side, even on the current account side, this year for the first 2 months that we have data, despite the conflict, despite the conflict, we have a CID surplus, which is more than much more than in the first 2 months. I don't have the figures, but if you look at the difference between the first 2 months that year, last year, and this year, current account we are better, and that is of course because exports have done better, imports have come down. A lot of imports have come down. Going forward, we expect our external position to be very good, excellent, and the measures that we have taken, I think, will also help the expectations channel through, because of which the rupee has acted more. FPI also is more of expectation. The FPI flows which are being volatile is again not because of any underlying reason, but because of valuations, relative valuations. But as mentioned even in my statement, the results of Q1 show a very good performance of the manufacturing and other corporate sector.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Jeevan Bhava sir from Akashvani to ask his question. Jeevan, please.
नमस्कार सर, आपने अभी बताया कि प्लास्टिक के नोट्स है वो अगले फाइनेंशियल ईयर के शुरुआत तक मार्केट में आ सकते हैं, तो फिलहाल इसकी टेस्टिंग की क्या कंडीशंस है, कहाँ तक टेस्टिंग शुरू हुई है, होगी, और इसके फीचर्स क्या-क्या होंगे, ये हम जानना चाहेंगे।
वो आपको सही समय पे हम बता देंगे। अभी जो है इसका हमने टेंडर किया है सबस्ट्रेट के लिए। वो सबस्ट्रेट जो उसका जो पॉलीमर का जो पेपर है जिसके ऊपर में ये नोट छपेगा वो आएगा, उसके ऊपर में टेस्टिंग होगी, सिक्योरिटी क्लियरेंस होगा, कई सारे स्टेजेस हैं, कई सारे सिक्योरिटी फीचर्स हैं। सही समय पे हम आपको इसके बारे में और आप सभी जनता को, लोगों को इसके क्या सिक्योरिटी फीचर्स हैं उसके बारे में सबको अवगत कराएंगे।
धन्यवाद सर। For the final question, I'll request Soumyajit Saha from Nikkei to ask his question. Soumyajit, please.
Thank you, Governor. Last year, between September and December, we saw India's exports to the US drop less than 1%, even though we are facing the harshest tariffs in all of Asia. Now we have the sanctioning Russia bill that is being considered by the US Congress. There is a risk of up to 100% tariffs on India and China. Given the relatively milder impact of US tariffs last year on economic growth, I wanted to understand, one, how relevant are US tariffs to your estimation of economic growth now? And two, has that estimation decreased given your experience, given your recent experience, in case the bill gets passed into an act?
I mean, we as of now we have projected, we have given our projections basis the current tariffs that are there. Going forward, we really don't know as to how, whether they'll be higher, they'll be lower. There is also a trade agreement which is happening. Then there is this bill which may get passed, and we will consider. I mean, it's still evolving. We don't. It will depend on what sectors, which particular which particular sectors, what kind of rates, etc. Who our competitors are. It will depend on so many things. So right now we don't have enough data to do any kind of an analysis on such thing. But you are right that whether it is us or whether it is others, the impact of tariffs is not as much because there is some rerouting that happens. Even if you look at even the US trade data, the effective tariff rates are much lower than if you were just to look at, the tariffs, because there are so many exemptions, sector exemptions, country exemptions, and so obviously the impact may not be as high as the headline numbers or the tariffs may suggest.
Thank you, sir. With your permission, sir, we will now conclude this press conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, two questions only. If it has not been answered.
RBI has not yet come out with the upper layer list. Has RBI decided not to publish the upper layer list any longer?
It is now, I think it is now principle based. So as per those principles, everyone knows that which is what is the list, and so that is where the matter stands, right?
Yes, I think
Just a minute.
list will be out very soon. But as we have changed the rules. So do you need the list?
That's the point, because anyone which has more than a particular, it's simple now. You don't actually need anyone, so everyone knows as to which NBFC is in upper layer, which is in middle, which is in base layer.
Yeah, people are just thinking about the one which has applied for deregistration.
That continues to be in all those which meet the criteria. They continue.
So
Yes.
Tata Sons will remain in the list.
Will remain. It is in the list.
In the new list, which will come
New
out.
list, as we mentioned, that it is principle based, and that will continue. Let's not ask questions, relating to a specific entity. The matter is what the status is what it was earlier.
बैंक्स के लिए अपने नंबर्स को ग्लोरीफाई करके दिखाना क्या इतनी बड़ी वजह बन गई है, मार्जिन्स क्या इतने बड़े कंसर्न बन गए हैं कि कोई जो है शॉर्ट टर्म डिपॉजिट्स लेता है सिर्फ रिजल्ट्स अनाउंस करने से पहले कि कासा अच्छा दिखे, कोई मार्केटिंग एक्सपेंस के नाम पर बल्क डिपॉजिट्स में एक्स्ट्रा उसी क्लाइंट को पैसे दे रहे हैं, या फिर कोई ईसीएल के चक्कर में कि प्रोविजनिंग ज़्यादा करनी पड़ रही है तो इसीलिए अपने बैड लोन्स जो है जल्दी से जल्दी बुक से निकाल रहे हैं. So has this become a major concern in the banking sector, considering कि लोगों की चॉइस अब इन्वेस्टमेंट को लेकर या बाकी चीजों में बढ़ रही है और पैसा बैंक में लोग उतना नहीं रखना चाहते, तो ये सारे कंसर्न मिलाकर जो है बैंक्स अलग अलग तरीके से अपनी बुक्स को ड्रेस अप कर रहे हैं. इस पर आरबीआई क्या कहेंगे सर?
नहीं, मुझे नहीं लगता कि ये जिसको आप विंडो ड्रेसिंग कह रहे हो, सबसे पहले विंडो ड्रेसिंग से किसी को कोई लाभ नहीं है. अगर कोई बैंक रेगुलेटेड एंटिटी इसको इस प्रकार से करती है तो आज के दिन में जो सभी हितधारक हैं, जो ग्राहक हैं, वो सब बहुत अच्छी भली भांति समझते हैं कि इससे, इस प्रकार की विंडो ड्रेसिंग से न तो लाभदायकता बढ़नी है, न ही उनके बैलेंस शीट में कोई मटेरियल, कोई इम्पैक्ट आने वाला है. तो सभी जो ग्राहक हितधारक हैं बहुत अच्छे से इसको समझते हैं, तो इससे उनको कोई लाभ नहीं है. मैं नहीं समझता कि विंडो ड्रेसिंग बहुत अधिक मात्रा में हो रही है या इससे हमारे को कंसर्न है. हमारी निर्देश इस संबंध में बहुत स्पष्ट हैं और हमारा जो पर्यवेक्षक जो रोल है, सुपरवाइजर्स हैं, वो भी इसको समय समय पर जाकर के बैंक्स की किताबों को, लेखा जोखा को देखते हैं, और अगर इस प्रकार का कोई भी अवसर, मौका वो ऐसा पाते हैं तो उनको जो है इसको सही करने के लिए निर्देश देते हैं. ये कोई विशेष हमारे लिए कोई कंसर्न नहीं है.
अच्छा, रिजल्ट्स के आसपास होता है तो कोई भी जब शेयर खरीदना चाहता है उसको लगता है कि रिजल्ट्स बहुत ग्लोरीफाइड आए हैं, तो सर ये कंसर्न शायद उस समय ज़्यादा बढ़ जाता है रिजल्ट्स के आसपास.
देखते हैं, हमारे जो पर्यवेक्षक दल जो जाता है वो सब चीज़ को देखता है. अगर कोई ऐसा कर रहा है, बार बार कर रहा है, या किसी ऐसे मौके पे जहाँ पे आप कह रहे हो कि उनके रिजल्ट्स आ रहे हैं, उनको देखा जाता है. और कुछ रेगुलेटेड एंटिटीज जो इस प्रकार के डिविएंट होती हैं. प्रश्न आपने हिंदी में पूछा है, But I'll request Mr. Swaminathan, he has understood the question for the others to answer maybe in
No, just to supplement to what you have said, sir. I think you listed so many concerns, but I can assure you that that the facts are not as bad as you wanted to list it out. It is not. I can tell you the system is robust, as Governor earlier mentioned, and we have on the one side stakeholders who are well aware, and it is not easy for anyone to live longer with that kind of projected or a picture which is not reflective of the true and fair position of the underlying conditions. So I don't think that it is something which can give you a long-term solution. The second is that we do have supervision which is strong enough, as Governor mentioned, that if there are any outlier behavior displayed by any entity, we deal with them bilaterally, not through media, but we will deal with them bilaterally. There are situations, but be rest assured that as covered in the MPC statement as well, the banking system as well as the NBFC sector is quite resilient despite the kind of volatility that we have been witnessing in the economic conditions. But we will continue to keep watching the data points that emerge from every single regulated entity, both through on-site and off-site means, and then deal with it if there are any instance of non-compliance. But at system level, be rest assured that things are adequately well managed. Sorry? Mule accounts, the Supreme Court said that RBI will come out. Yes, there was a Sumoto case of, I'm sure that you all would have seen that yesterday, the order was passed, and we are, a draft SOP has already been prepared and submitted to the Supreme Court. So now we will fine tune that in terms of 4 weeks time has been given to RBI. So we will fine tune in the light of the observations by the Supreme Court, and we will soon issue. And from the number of frauds that are getting reported and also with the grievance redress model, money restoration models getting activated. On the one side, there are significant efforts that are being made to prevent frauds from occurring. On the other side, consumer awareness is being significantly stepped up by us as well as the regulated entities. On the third side, on the third aspect, wherever people have fallen victim, both law enforcement and the regulated entities will take whatever best possible effort to see that their money is restored as much as feasible.
Rohit, do you have anything to add? Huh? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I did not give you an opportunity. So if there is anything which I have left out or anything which pertains to you, which you would like to supplement.
Normally in the monetary policy, there is a question on CBDC and unified lending interface. And many of you have been asking about the progress under that. I just want to tell that we are making good progress. The adoption is increasing. Not pilots, they are actually in the ground being used. And we are following up with banks for increasing the use cases, CBDC and ULI both. And we are engaging with various state governments for increased adoption of ULI. So in the times ahead, we expect a lot more usage and popularity of both CBDC and ULI.
So pilot CBDC is over now?
No, it was never a pilot. It is actually happening. CBDC is actually being used for actual transactions. It is only for namesake that it's a pilot.
I'm sorry if I could clarify on that, sir, but the CBDC is no longer a pilot, is what you're saying? It's in full launch?
No, it's already being used for actual transactions.
Okay.
So you cannot call it a pilot that way, but because we are still testing out the technology and the various adoption means, it is being called a pilot.
Got
it. How is the scope of usage increase? If you could please help us.
There are various use cases, both for cross-border and for specific government schemes, directed uses, and transfers to particular segments. All of that is being expanded, which will lead to increased adoption and usage.
And so for ULI, has the records been digitized like state-wise also so that the penetration of the same increases?
So 12 states have digitized their land records so far. Other states are also doing that work. And we expect a lot of interest is being shown by different state governments to use the CBTC and the ULI for different schemes. And we are in constant dialogue with them to increase their usage.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to thank the governor, deputy
Offline.
governors, and the media for the participation in the press conference and wish you all a good day ahead. Thank you very much.